The stars around Earth went dark as thousands of alien ships appeared from nowhere. Captain Li Wu stood on Luna Station's observation deck, watching the massive fleet through the reinforced windows. The alien vessels stretched across space like a metal wall, each ship bigger than anything humans had ever built, sir. "We're getting a transmission," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Park Jin. "It's coming from the big ship in the center." Li Wu nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing military armor. Its yellow eyes glowed with cold intelligence, and when it spoke, its voice came through the translation system as a deep, threatening growl. "I am Admiral Kextar of the Galactic Confederation," the alien said. "You will listen carefully, humans. Your species has been judged primitive and dangerous. You fight among yourselves like wild animals. You destroy your own planet. You are not fit to exist alongside civilized races." Dr. Kim Nari, Earth's chief scientist for alien contact, stepped beside Li Wu. She had been studying alien signals for years, but this was humanity's first real contact with other intelligent life. Her hands shook slightly as she recorded everything. "We give you 72 hours, Admiral Kextar continued. "Surrender completely. Hand over your leaders. Prepare your strongest people for work in our mining colonies. The rest will be relocated to planets where you cannot cause trouble. Refuse, and we will destroy every city on your world." The transmission ended. The observation deck fell silent except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Li Wu stared at the alien fleet for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. He started to laugh. It began as a quiet chuckle, then grew louder until he was laughing so hard he had to hold onto the railing. "Sir?" Lieutenant Park looked confused. "Are you okay?" "They think we're primitives," Li Wu said, wiping tears from his eyes. "Look at that fleet, Nari. What do you see?" Dr. Kim Nari studied the alien ships through her scanner. Massive energy signatures. Shield generators that could probably stop nuclear weapons. Weapons that could burn continents. "They have technology hundreds of years ahead of ours." "Exactly," Li Wu grinned. "They're so advanced, so powerful, so sure of themselves." "And they think that scares us, doesn't it?" asked Lieutenant Park. Li Wu's smile grew wider. "Park, my friend, they have no idea what they just did. They didn't just threaten humanity. They gave us the greatest challenge we've ever faced. Do you know what humans do when someone tells us something is impossible?" Dr. Kim Nari was already pulling up files on her tablet. Historical records show that humans perform better under extreme pressure. The more impossible the situation, the more creative we become. "The Battle of Thermopylae," Li Wu said. 300 Spartans against an army of thousands. The Siege of Bastonia, the Apollo missions. Every time someone told us we couldn't do something, we proved them wrong. Lieutenant Park was starting to understand. "But sir, this is different. They have 10,000 ships. We have maybe 300 vessels in our entire space fleet, and most of those are cargo ships and research vessels." "Park, you're thinking like them." Li Wu pointed at the alien fleet. "You're thinking about bigger guns and stronger shields. That's not how humans win fights." Dr. Kim Nari was already sending messages to Earth. "I'm contacting the Defense Council. They need to know about this immediately." "Tell them to call an emergency session," Li Wu said. "And make sure they understand something very important. This isn't a funeral. This is a party invitation." Within hours, the news of the alien ultimatum spread across Earth. The response surprised everyone, including the aliens who were monitoring human communications. Instead of panic, instead of riots, instead of governments surrendering, something else happened. Humans started making jokes. Social media exploded with memes about the invasion. People shared pictures of the alien ships with funny captions. Someone created a video game where players could design their own ways to fight the aliens. Military recruitment offices had lines around the block, not from fear, but from excitement. General Park Tae called the emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. Representatives from every nation gathered in the underground bunker beneath Geneva, but the mood was nothing like what the aliens expected. "Gentlemen, ladies," General Park said as he looked around the table, "we have 72 hours before the aliens expect our surrender. I've reviewed their demands, and I have only one question. Does anyone here actually want to surrender?" The room erupted in laughter. "General," said the representative from Korea, "my people have been invaded before. We know what surrender looks like. This isn't surrender they're asking for. This is extinction." "Agreed," said the representative from Brazil. They want to break us apart and scatter us across the galaxy. That's not mercy. That's slavery, so we fight, said General Park. The question is how. They have superior numbers and technology. In a straight battle, we lose. Engineer Jiang So stood up. She was young, barely 30, but she had designed most of Earth's new space vessels. General, we're not going to fight them straight. We're going to fight them human. Explain. Every species they've conquered before was probably logical. They surrendered when defeat was certain. They tried to preserve their people and their culture. They made reasonable decisions. Jiang So smiled. Humans aren't reasonable. We're crazy, and crazy is something they won't expect. Dr. HFY, the military psychologist, nodded. I've been studying their ultimatum. Everything about it suggests they expect rational behavior. They expect us to weigh the odds and make the smart choice. They expect us to be afraid. But we're not afraid, General Park said. We're excited. Exactly. They've given us the ultimate challenge. They've told us it's impossible to win. For humans, that's not a threat. That's motivation. As the meeting continued, the alien fleet waited in space, confident in their overwhelming power. Admiral Kekstar reviewed the human communications his intelligence officers had intercepted. None of it made sense. They're laughing, his communications officer reported. The humans are making jokes about us. Jokes? Admiral Kekstar's reptilian features showed confusion. They face extinction and they make jokes? Yes, sir. And they're volunteering for military service in record numbers. Their industrial facilities are increasing production. They're acting like they're preparing for war, not surrender. Admiral Kekstar stared at the small blue planet below. In 50,000 years of conquest, the Galactic Confederation had never encountered a species that reacted this way. Every other race had either surrendered immediately or fought desperately before being crushed. But the humans were laughing. Something cold touched Admiral Kekstar's heart. For the first time in his long military career, he wondered if the Confederation might have made a mistake. The countdown clock showed 48 hours remaining when General Park Tae walked into the war room. The massive screens displayed real-time data from around the world, and what he saw made him smile. Every major city was buzzing with activity, but not the kind of activity the aliens expected. Report, he said to his aide, Colonel Kim Do. Sir, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. Military recruitment is up 3,000%. Factories are retooling for weapons production at record speed. And the civilian response? Colonel Kim paused, shaking his head in amazement. What about the civilian response? They're having fun with it, sir. The internet is flooded with invasion memes. Someone started a betting pool on how long it will take us to capture an alien ship. 3 different movie studios are already planning films about the invasion. General Park laughed. Show me the alien communications intercepts. The main screen switched to display translated alien messages. The Galactic Confederation's intelligence officers were clearly confused by what they were seeing. Report from Intelligence Unit 7, Colonel Kim read. Human settlements showing no signs of panic. No mass evacuations. No government collapse. Instead, increased industrial activity and what appears to be entertainment creation. Engineer Jiang So entered the war room carrying a tablet full of designs. Her eyes were bright with excitement, and she hadn't slept in 2 days. General, you need to see this. We've got volunteers faster than we can process them, and the ideas they're coming up with, show me. Jiang So pulled up a holographic display. A farmer from Iowa designed a way to turn his crop dusting plane into a kamikaze missile. A group of teenagers from Tokyo created plans for boarding pods that can cut through alien hull plating. A grandmother from Scotland sent us her recipe for homemade explosives with a note saying, "Give those lizards something to remember us by." Dr. HFY was monitoring alien communications from her psychology lab. She had been studying the intercepted messages for hours, and what she found was fascinating. "General," she called through the intercom, "you need to hear this. The aliens are starting to panic." Panic? They have 10,000 ships. Yes, but they're not used to this kind of response. I'm reading reports from their fleet psychologists. They're describing human behavior as tactically insane and psychologically impossible. General Park walked over to Dr. Yu's station. What do you mean? Every species they've conquered before followed predictable patterns. When faced with overwhelming odds, they either surrendered to save lives or fought desperately to delay the inevitable. Humans are doing neither. We're fighting to win. More than that, we're fighting because we want to fight. Look at this intercepted message from their Admiral Kextar to the Confederation Council. The translation appeared on screen. Human behavior does not match any known psychological profile. They appear to be treating the invasion as a form of entertainment. Recommend immediate reinforcement of Psychological Warfare Division. Dr. Yu highlighted another message. And this one from their intelligence chief. Humans are broadcasting their battle plans on public networks while making jokes about their own deaths. This level of confidence suggests either hidden weapons or complete insanity. Captain Nambo was in the Luna shipyards overseeing the conversion of civilian vessels into warships. The work was going faster than anyone had expected, partly because volunteers were working around the clock, and partly because humans were treating the project like the ultimate engineering challenge. How's the conversion of the cargo ships going? General Park asked over the video link. Better than planned, sir, Captain Nam replied. We're not just converting them. We're improving them. A team of mechanics from Detroit figured out how to boost the engine output by 40%. Some engineers from Germany designed new hull plating using techniques from their car industry. What about weapons? That's where it gets interesting. We can't match their energy weapons, so we're not trying to. We're going kinetic. Railguns, explosive harpoons, ramming spikes. One team is working on something they call boarding torpedoes, missiles designed to punch holes in alien ships and deliver assault teams directly inside. General Park nodded. The aliens won't expect close combat. That's what we're counting on. And sir, the volunteers for the assault teams? We have more people volunteering than we have ships to carry them. Meanwhile, on the flagship of the Galactic Fleet, Admiral Kextar was growing increasingly disturbed by the reports from his intelligence division. They're what? He asked his communications officer. Making music about the invasion, sir, and sharing it publicly. Our translation computers are having difficulty with the concepts, but it appears to be what humans call battle songs. They're singing about dying gloriously in combat against us. Admiral Kextar's scaled hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. In my 300 years of military service, I have never encountered a species that sings about their own deaths. There's more, sir. They're creating what they call propaganda posters, images designed to boost morale. But instead of showing strength or unity, they show humans laughing while fighting our forces. One popular image shows a human pilot ramming his ship into one of our dreadnoughts while making a gesture our linguists say indicates extreme happiness. The admiral stood and walked to the vast viewing window of his ship. Below, Earth continued its preparations. The night side of the planet glowed with the lights of cities working around the clock, while the day side showed the heat signatures of massive industrial activity. What do our psychological profiles say about human combat effectiveness? He asked. His science officer, a tall blue-skinned humanoid, consulted his tablet. Admiral, the profiles are contradictory. Humans have extensive records of warfare among themselves, but their approach is unlike anything we've seen. They fight harder when outnumbered. They perform better under extreme pressure, and most disturbing, they seem to enjoy combat. Enjoy it? Yes, sir. They have entire industries built around simulated combat for entertainment. They create fictional stories about war. They play games based on fighting. Our psychologists believe that for humans, warfare may not be survival behavior. It may be recreational behavior. Admiral Kextar felt a chill run down his spine. The Confederation had built its power by understanding the psychology of other species. Fear was universal. Self-preservation was logical. Every species wanted to survive and protect their offspring, but humans seemed to want something else entirely. They wanted to fight. Dr. Kim Nari was in her laboratory, analyzing every piece of data they had on the alien fleet. She had been working for 36 hours straight, fueled by coffee and the excitement of the greatest scientific challenge in human history. Think I understand why they're confused, she told General Park over the video link. Explain. Every species they've conquered was probably more advanced than us. When they first developed space travel, they likely had unified governments, logical resource management, and rational decision-making processes. They developed space technology to explore and expand carefully. And humans? We developed space technology to get off this planet because we kept blowing things up down here. We're not explorers, General. We're refugees from our own destructive tendencies. And now these aliens are threatening to destroy us? Dr. Kim smiled. They're not giving us a death sentence. They're giving us a target. With 24 hours left on the ultimatum, the alien fleet began detecting something that made Admiral Kextar question everything he thought he knew about warfare. The humans were laughing louder. Their communications were filled with jokes. Their military preparations were being broadcast like entertainment, and their volunteers were lined up not just to fight, but to die gloriously in the attempt. For the first time in the Galactic Confederation's history, Admiral Kextar began to wonder if they had chosen the wrong species to conquer. With 12 hours left before the alien deadline, Fleet Commander Shin Min stood before the largest gathering of military officers in human history. Representatives from every nation filled the underground command center in Geneva, connected by video links to commanders across Earth and throughout the solar system. "Ladies and gentlemen," Commander Shin began, "in less than half a day we will either surrender unconditionally or face the largest fleet in galactic history. I want everyone to understand exactly what we're planning to do." The main screen lit up with a tactical display showing both fleets. The alien formation looked like a massive wall of metal and energy, while the human fleet looked like scattered dots in comparison. "We call it the David Doctrine," Commander Shin said, "named after an ancient story about a young man who defeated a giant with nothing but a stone and the courage to use it." Lieutenant Choi Hyo, one of the youngest squadron leaders in the fleet, raised her hand. "Commander, with respect, David had surprise on his side. The aliens know we're coming." Commander Shin smiled. "Do they? Lieutenant, what do you think the aliens expect us to do? Build bigger ships, stronger weapons, better shields? Try to match their technology?" "Exactly. They expect us to play their game by their rules. They've conquered hundreds of species this way. Everyone tries to outbuild them, outgun them, outshield them. Everyone loses." Commander Shin pressed a button and the tactical display changed. Instead of showing the human fleet trying to match the alien formation, it showed something completely different. "We're not building bigger ships," he continued. "We're building smaller ones, faster ones. Ships designed to do one thing very well: get close to the enemy and cause maximum damage before being destroyed." Captain Lee Da, the chief engineer for the human fleet, stood up from her seat. "Show them the designs, Commander." The screen filled with technical specifications for the new human vessels. They looked nothing like traditional warships. They were small, fast, and covered in weapons that seemed designed for close-range combat. "These are the Mosquito-class fighters," Captain Lee explained. "Each one carries enough firepower to seriously damage a ship 50 times its size. But they have to get close to do it." "How close?" asked a general from Russia. "Ramming distance," Captain Lee said with a grin. The room went quiet. Several officers looked uncomfortable with the implications. "You're talking about suicide missions," said Admiral Kim Jae from the Korean fleet. "We're talking about effective missions," Commander Shin replied. "Admiral, how many pilots volunteered for the Mosquito squadrons?" "All of them, sir." "We had to turn people away." Commander Shin nodded. "That's the difference between us and every other species the aliens have fought. We have volunteers for missions that guarantee death, not because we want to die, but because we want to win." Dr. Song Mi, monitoring alien communications from her intelligence post, interrupted over the intercom. "Commander, you need to hear this. We just intercepted a priority transmission from the alien fleet to their home command. Put it on speaker." The translated alien message filled the room. "Request immediate psychological evaluation of human species. Their tactical preparations suggest either advanced death wish pathology or complete detachment from survival instincts. Recommend treating engagement as hostile first contact with unknown psychological warfare capabilities." Commander Shin laughed. "They think we're insane, aren't we?" asked Lieutenant Choi. "Maybe, but insanity is just another word for thinking outside the box. And Lieutenant, their box has been the same for 50,000 years." Captain Oh Bin, leader of the boarding assault teams, joined the conversation via video link from his training facility on Mars. "Commander, show them the boarding pods." The display changed again, showing designs for small craft that looked more like guided missiles than ships. "These are Harpoon-class boarding pods," Captain O explained. "They're designed to punch through alien hull armor and deliver assault teams directly inside enemy ships. Once we're inside, their size advantage disappears." "You're planning to fight them hand-to-hand?" asked a shocked general from France. "Why not?" Captain O shrugged. "They've probably never had someone board their ships before. Their security will be designed for external threats, not internal ones. And I bet none of them have ever been in a fistfight. Commander Shin brought up another display showing the complete battle plan. Here's what we're going to do. Wave 1. Mosquito fighters punch holes in their formation and disrupt their command structure. Wave 2. Harpoon boarding pods deliver assault teams to their key ships. Wave 3. Our remaining fleet moves in while they're dealing with internal combat. What about their superior firepower? Asked Admiral Kim. What about it? They can't use their big guns if we're inside their ships fighting in their hallways. They can't fire on us if we're too close to their own vessels. They built those weapons to destroy other fleets from a distance. We're not going to give them distance. Lieutenant Choi studied the tactical display. Commander, this plan requires precise timing and perfect coordination. If any part fails, then we adapt. That's what humans do best. We improvise. We overcome. We find a way. Commander Shin looked around the room at the faces of officers from dozens of nations, all united by the impossible challenge they faced. Ladies and gentlemen, the aliens made one critical mistake. What's that? Asked Captain Lee. They threatened humanity when we were bored. We've been at peace for too long. Our warriors have been sitting around playing video games and watching movies about wars we wish we could fight. These aliens just gave us the war we've been dreaming about. The alien Admiral Kextar was reviewing the same intelligence reports for the third time, trying to understand what he was seeing. Computer, analyze human fleet composition and tactical approach, he commanded. Analysis complete, the ship's artificial intelligence responded. Human fleet consists primarily of vessels too small for effective space combat. Weapons systems appear designed for close-range engagement. Tactical approach suggests intention to engage at ranges that would neutralize technological advantages of Confederation forces. They're going to try to get close to us? Probability assessment indicates humans intend to engage in direct physical combat. This approach has never been attempted in modern galactic warfare. Admiral Kextar stared at the tactical display. Everything about the human approach violated basic military logic. They were bringing knives to a gunfight, and somehow they seemed confident about it. Sir, his communications officer interrupted. We're receiving another broadcast from Earth. Put it through. The image of Commander Shin Min appeared on the screen. The human looked calm, confident, and disturbingly happy. Admiral Kextar, Commander Shin said, in 6 hours we're going to show you something new. For 50,000 years your Confederation has fought the same kind of wars against the same kind of enemies. You've never fought humans before. You have no idea what that means, but you're about to find out. The transmission ended. Admiral Kextar turned to his tactical officer. Probability of human victory? Less than 1%, sir. Their approach is tactically impossible. Then why? Admiral Kextar asked quietly. Do I have the feeling we're about to lose? On Earth, the final preparations continued. Pilots climbed into fighters they knew would not bring them home. Assault teams checked weapons for battles they might not survive. Engineers made final adjustments to ships designed to be destroyed, and through it all, the humans kept laughing, because they were about to teach the galaxy something new about warfare. Sometimes the impossible isn't impossible at all. Sometimes it's just really, really fun. The human fleet launched from Earth and Luna Station exactly at the deadline. Commander Park Soo led the first wave of mosquito fighters, streaming toward the massive alien formation while broadcasting what could only be described as victory songs mixed with jokes. Admiral Kextar watched the small human ships approach on his tactical display. They looked like insects flying toward a mountain. Sir, the humans are transmitting on all frequencies, his communications officer reported. What are they saying? Music, sir. And commentary. They appear to be narrating their own attack. Admiral Kextar listened to the translation. A human pilot was speaking casually to his audience. Okay, folks, we're about 30 seconds from the big lizard ships. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy watching me ram this thing into their command deck. This is going to be either really awesome or really short. They're treating this like entertainment? Admiral Kextar asked in disbelief. Yes, sir. Multiple pilots are broadcasting their attacks live to audiences on Earth. Commander Park Soo's voice crackled over the communications as her fighter squadron dove toward the alien formation. Phoenix Squadron, remember the plan. Fast hard and make it count. Target their sensor arrays first, then their command bridges. Let's show these guys how Earth girls fight. The first wave of human fighters slammed into the alien formation at speeds that should have been impossible for living beings to survive. But survive they did. weaving between massive alien ships while firing everything they had. The aliens had expected the humans to engage at long range, using traditional space combat tactics. Instead, the human fighters were flying so close to the alien hulls that the massive ships couldn't target them without hitting their own vessels. "They're inside our formation," the alien tactical officer shouted. "They're too close for primary weapons." Admiral Kextar watched in horror as human fighters darted between his ships like angry wasps. Their weapons were primitive by Confederation standards, but they were hitting weak points that no one had bothered to armor heavily, because no enemy had ever gotten close enough to target them. Commander Park, Sue's fighter, took heavy damage from alien point defense systems, but she kept flying. Her ship's hull was cracked, her life support was failing, and her weapons were nearly depleted. "This is Phoenix Lead," she broadcast to her squadron and to Earth. "I'm down to my last missile and my ship's about to come apart. But I can see their command bridge from here. Time to make this count." She aimed her fighter directly at the bridge of the alien flagship and fired her last weapon, not at the bridge, but at the support structures holding the massive communications array above it. The explosion brought down the entire array onto the bridge, crushing the ship's command center and cutting off communications to half the alien fleet. "Phoenix Lead is down," her wingman reported, but she took their command center with her. Similar scenes played out across the alien formation as human fighters sacrificed themselves to cause maximum damage to critical systems. The aliens had never faced an enemy willing to trade lives for strategic advantage so freely. "Sir, we're losing coordination across the fleet," the alien tactical officer reported. "The humans are targeting our communication system specifically. How can they know our ship designs so well?" "They don't, sir. They're just hitting everything that looks important." Admiral Kextar realized with growing alarm that the humans weren't following any tactical doctrine he understood. They were improvising, adapting to each situation as they encountered it. The second wave of human attacks came in the form of harpoon boarding pods. Captain Kim Jun led the assault on a Vorthak dreadnought, his pod punching through the alien hull and delivering his team directly into the enemy ship's corridors. "Boarding Team Alpha is inside," Captain Kim reported, as he kicked open the remains of his pod. "Gravity is lighter than expected. Air is breathable but smells like sulfur." Proceeding to the bridge. The aliens inside the dreadnought had never experienced a boarding action. Their security systems were designed to repel external attacks, not armed humans running through their hallways. Captain Kim's team moved quickly through the ship, using human portable weapons that the aliens had never encountered. The defenders fired energy weapons designed for space combat, powerful but slow to recharge and difficult to maneuver in tight spaces. The humans carried projectile weapons, crude by alien standards, but perfect for close-quarters combat in ship corridors. "Contact," Captain Kim reported as his team engaged alien security forces. "These guys are big, but they're not fast, and they don't seem to know how to fight in confined spaces." The running battle through the alien ship turned into a nightmare for the defenders. The humans moved like they had trained for this exact scenario, which they had. Human military doctrine had always emphasized adaptability in close-quarters combat. The aliens had trained for space battles between fleets. They had never prepared for the possibility of enemies inside their own ships. Captain Kim reached the dreadnought's bridge to find the alien crew hiding behind their control consoles. "This is interesting," he broadcast. "I don't think they've ever been in a gunfight before." He was right. Most alien species in the Confederation had evolved past personal violence. Their wars were fought with technology and distance. The idea of physical combat was alien to them, but it wasn't alien to humans. Dr. Song Mi monitored the battle from Earth, intercepting alien communications and relaying intelligence to the human forces. What she heard confirmed their tactical approach was working. "General Park," she called over the communications link, "the alien fleet is requesting emergency reinforcements. They're describing our attack as unprecedented aggressive boarding actions and psychologically disturbing combat behavior." "What exactly are they disturbed by?" General Park asked. "According to their transmissions, they're upset that our people keep fighting even when wounded, that we're making noise during combat, and that we seem to be enjoying the battle." General Park listened to the audio from Captain Kim's boarding action. The human team was indeed making noise. They were shouting tactical information, encouraging each other, and yes, some of them were laughing as they fought. "Sir," Dr. Song continued, "one alien commander described our fighters as tactically insane because they keep attacking even when their ships are damaged beyond repair." And they're right. Captain O-Bin just detonated a nuclear device inside an alien cruiser. His last transmission was, "Tell them we're just getting warmed up." The third wave of human attacks came from the main fleet, converted cargo ships and civilian vessels that had been turned into improvised warships. They moved in while the alien formation was in chaos from the fighter attacks and boarding actions. The aliens tried to reform their battle line, but they were dealing with problems they had never faced before. Human fighters were still zipping through their formation. Boarding teams were fighting inside dozens of their ships. Their command structure was disrupted, and the humans kept coming. Fleet Commander Shin Min led the main attack, his converted cargo ship charging directly at an alien battlecruiser while broadcasting on all frequencies. "This is Earth Fleet Command to all alien vessels," he announced. "You wanted to see how humans fight? This is just the beginning. We've got 6 billion more people back home who are really excited to meet you." The alien battlecruiser fired everything it had at the approaching human ship. But Commander Shin had learned from the fighter attacks. His ship moved erratically, using thrusters and attitude jets to make it nearly impossible to target accurately. The human ship slammed into the alien vessel's hangar bay, punching deep into the interior before exploding in a massive fireball that gutted the entire ship. Admiral Kextar stared at the tactical display in shock. In less than 2 hours, the human attack had destroyed or disabled nearly a quarter of his fleet. Not through superior technology or numbers, but through sheer aggressive determination and tactics that defied every rule of civilized warfare. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "several ship commanders are requesting permission to withdraw." "Withdraw? We still outnumber them 10 to 1. "Yes, sir, but—" The officer hesitated. "Sir, the humans are inside our ships. They're in our corridors, fighting our crews hand to hand. Many of our people have never seen violence like this. They're requesting psychological support." Admiral Kextar realized with growing horror that they weren't just losing ships, they were losing the will to fight. The humans had introduced an element to warfare that the Confederation had forgotten existed: the willingness to die fighting rather than accept defeat. And somehow, the humans seemed to be having fun doing it. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." Commander Shin Min's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, his bridge crew was cheering and celebrating, despite the fact that they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Admiral," Commander Shin said with a broad smile, "we just wanted to thank you. Humanity hasn't had a good war in decades. This is exactly what we needed." The transmission ended. For the first time in his 300-year career, Admiral Kextar began to understand that he might be facing something worse than defeat. He might be facing a species that was better at war than the Galactic Confederation. Admiral Kextar sent the emergency request for reinforcements 6 hours after the human attack began. The message was simple: request immediate fleet support. Human resistance exceeds all tactical projections, psychological warfare capabilities unknown and extreme. The response from the Galactic Confederation Council came 12 hours later, and it was not what Admiral Kextar expected. "Admiral," the Council's representative said over the secure communication link, "your request for reinforcements has been complicated by recent developments." "What developments?" Admiral Kextar asked, though he dreaded the answer. 3 member species have refused to send additional ships. The Zenthari claim their crews are psychologically unprepared for human combat methods. The Melody have declared the human conflict too disturbing for civilized warfare, and the Kresh are requesting detailed psychological profiles of human fighters before committing any forces. Admiral Kextar stared at the transmission in disbelief. "They're refusing to fight because humans are too aggressive?" "Admiral, we've been monitoring your battlefield communications. The recordings of human combat behavior have disturbed many of our member species. The Confederation Council is receiving requests for emergency sessions to discuss the human problem." Admiral Yun Ka, the Human Intelligence Coordinator, had been monitoring Galactic Confederation communications for the past day. What she discovered made her laugh so hard she nearly fell out of her chair. "General Park," she called over the intercom, "you need to see this. The aliens are having internal political problems because of us." General Park joined her in the intelligence center. Show me. Admiral Yoon pulled up intercepted communications between various alien species. The Confederation is fracturing. Look at this message from the Zenthari High Command to their fleet commanders. Under no circumstances should vessels engage human forces in close combat. Human psychological warfare capabilities appear designed to induce trauma in civilized species. They think we're using psychological warfare? It gets better. Here's a transmission from the Melody Council, requesting immediate evacuation of all Melody personnel from Confederation fleet. Human combat broadcasts are causing widespread anxiety disorders among our population. General Park read through more intercepts. The pattern was clear. Species after species was describing human combat behavior as disturbing, traumatic, and psychologically damaging to witness. They're not afraid of our weapons, he realized. They're afraid of us. Commander Beck Rowe had been running Earth's Information Warfare Division, broadcasting human entertainment across Confederation space. Her mission was simple: show the aliens what humanity was really like. We're getting responses to our cultural broadcasts, she reported to the Leadership Council. The aliens are confused by our entertainment media. How so? Asked General Park. They can't understand why we create fictional stories about war, conflict, and violence for enjoyment. A intercepted Confederation intelligence report describes human entertainment as systematic desensitization to violence and death through recreational media consumption. Commander Beck brought up examples of the broadcasts that had caused the strongest alien reactions. We sent them footage from our action movies, war films, and competitive sports. They're analyzing it as military training material. They think our movies are training videos. Worse, they think our sports are combat preparation. We intercepted a Vorthak military analysis that describes human football as ritualized warfare training using non-lethal weapons. They're convinced that every human is a trained soldier because we play competitive games. Dr. Han Sol, the psychologist studying alien reactions to human behavior, had been analyzing Confederation communications for patterns. What she found was both fascinating and disturbing. General, she said, I think I understand why the Confederation has been so successful for 50,000 years. They've never encountered a species like us. Explain. Every species they've conquered has been post-conflict. They evolved past personal violence before they developed space travel. They solved their aggressive tendencies through technology and social development. War, for them, is something that happens between machines at great distances. Dr. Han pulled up psychological profiles of various Confederation species. Look at these. The Zenthari haven't experienced interpersonal violence in over 10,000 years. The Melody have no concept of recreational combat. The Vorthak consider any physical confrontation to be a sign of psychological illness. And humans? We're still violent. We never evolved past our aggressive tendencies. We just got better at directing them. We play violent sports for fun. We create violent entertainment. We volunteer for dangerous jobs. From their perspective, we're a species of psychotic warriors who enjoy combat. General Park understood the implications. They're not just fighting our military. They're fighting our entire culture. The psychological impact on the Confederation forces became clear when Admiral Kekstar received casualty reports from his ship commanders. The numbers made no sense. Sir, his medical officer reported, we have over 3,000 crew members requesting psychological evaluation and removal from combat duty. 3,000? How many of those are wounded? None, sir. They're all experiencing what our doctors are calling human-induced stress disorders. They've been listening to human combat communications and watching recordings of human boarding actions. Admiral Kekstar reviewed the medical reports. Crew members were describing nightmares about humans fighting while laughing, humans continuing to attack while severely wounded, and humans volunteering for missions that guaranteed death. Sir, the crew is asking if humans feel pain, his medical officer continued. Several boarding actions have been recorded where humans continued fighting with injuries that should have incapacitated them. Our people don't understand how that's possible. What do our xenobiologists say? They say humans have the same pain sensitivity as most species, sir. They just ignore it when they're fighting. Admiral Kekstar realized that the Confederation was facing something unprecedented. They weren't just fighting a military force. They were fighting a species that approached warfare as a recreational activity. Fleet Commander Lim Yu made the announcement that changed everything. Broadcasting on all frequencies, both human and alien, she delivered a message that sent shockwaves through the Galactic Confederation. "This is Fleet Commander Lim Yu of the Human Defense Forces," she began. "We want to thank the Galactic Confederation for the most exciting challenge humanity has faced in generations. Your fleet has provided excellent training for our forces." The transmission continued. "However, we've decided that defensive warfare is too limiting. Since the Confederation enjoys conquering other species, we thought we'd try it ourselves. Consider this fair warning. Humanity is going on the offensive." The message included tactical displays showing human industrial production. Shipyards that had been building a few dozen vessels per month were now producing hundreds. Military recruitment had reached levels not seen since World War II. Most disturbing of all, humans were treating the escalation as proof that they had been right to be excited. Admiral Kextar stared at the intelligence reports flooding in from across Confederation space. The humans weren't just defending Earth anymore. They were launching exploratory missions to identify Confederation colonies and military bases. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "human scouts have been detected in 17 different systems. They're not attacking, they're just looking around." "Looking for what?" "According to intercepted communications, they're scouting for the next phase of the fun." The Confederation Council called an emergency session. For the first time in galactic history, they were facing an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each battle, not weaker. The Xanthari representative spoke first. "The human conflict must be contained. Their psychological warfare capabilities pose a threat to the mental health of all Confederation species." The Melody delegate agreed. "Our analysis shows that prolonged exposure to human combat methods causes permanent psychological changes in our populations. They must be quarantined, not conquered." But it was the Vorthak military commander who voiced what everyone was thinking. "Counselors, we may have made a fundamental error. We assumed humans were a primitive species to be easily conquered. But what if they're not primitive? What if they're simply better at this than we are?" The session ended with a decision that no one wanted to make, but everyone knew was necessary. The Confederation would have to negotiate. Not because they couldn't defeat humanity, but because the cost of defeating humanity might be the destruction of Confederation civilization itself. The humans had introduced something terrible into galactic warfare, the joy of combat. And it was spreading. Reports were coming in from across Confederation space of member species questioning why they had ever stopped fighting for themselves, why they had given up their independence to join the Confederation, and most disturbing of all, why warfare had to be so boring when the humans made it look like so much fun. Admiral Kextar realized that humanity had already won. Not through superior firepower or technology, but by demonstrating that there was an alternative to the Confederation's sterile, technological approach to conflict.